Welcome, everybody. This week's Joy of Gratitude has been sponsored as a merit for Refuah Shlema for Yehuda Shalom ben Chayra. So I was teaching today a class on the laws of shatnez, which is the prohibition of wearing clothes that have a mixture of wool and linen in them. In order to understand the laws of shatnez, we had to talk about how threads are made, how cloth is weaved, the difference between cloth and unwoven fibers used as padding, and several other aspects and details. Now, shatnez is one of the interesting mitzvahs that is very difficult to understand. And while there have been deeper insights that have been given as to the concept behind this mitzvah, Rambam says that priests of idolatry used to wear these sorts of cloaks made of a mixture of linen and wool. The Midrash says that Cain, when he offered up the sacrifice to Hashem, he offered up a sacrifice of flax, which is what linen is made from, whereas Abel offered the sacrifice sheep. And this then led, as we know, to the first murder in the world. So therefore, we don't mix linen and wool because of that. Nevertheless, despite all the reasons, and there's several other insights that are offered, at its essence, shatnez is a chok. A chok is something that we don't understand the rationale. Obviously, Hashem has a reason, but it's not something that we understand. What could possibly be wrong with mixing wool and linen inside our clothes? So it's something that we don't understand. And I was explaining that in essence, the concept of a chok is a declaration that we value the relationship. I.e., we trust, whenever you have something like a chok, it means we trust the other person in the relationship enough to do what they ask, even though we don't understand. For example, if a wife was to say to her husband, "Go to the shop, please, and buy me some red roses." And he goes to the shop, and as he enters the shop, he sees some red roses there, but in his opinion, they're not so nice. But he sees some beautiful white carnations, and he thinks to himself, "I'm going to buy those white carnations." He takes them home, and he gives them to his wife, and his wife is looking at him, and she's wondering, why could he not just listen to me when I said, "Get some red roses"? What's the difficulty? Why is it so difficult? Oh, but I just asked for red roses. There's a whole reason behind it. It's because it matches this and it matches that. And I don't like carnations. A relationship is really only as strong as the things we don't understand. If we spend our time doing things for our other half, and the things that we're doing are things that we think are right, all it means is we love ourselves. A relationship is where I will do something that's asked of me, even when I don't get it, even when I don't understand it, because I trust the other person in the relationship. And therefore, a chok is important. Having mitzvahs that we don't understand is truly important because it allows us to demonstrate that whatever mitzvah we're doing, whether we understand it or not, we do them based on the fact that we trust and love Hashem. So that's what I said. Then one of the students put up her hand and she said something truly profound. She says, there's actually a beauty that comes from all these details, whether we understand their meaning or not. And that is that we learn to appreciate details. It's so easy in life to be totally unaware of the details of how things are made, to consider the minds that developed the loom, that's the thing that weaves cloth together, and the more modern day motorized and computerized equivalents. But having the details of a mitzvah, not just this mitzvah, the truth is it's pretty much every mitzvah, forces us to see those details and appreciate them. So every morning we say a blessing. One of the blessings we say in the morning, we say, Baruch atah Hashem, blessed is you, Hashem, thank you, Hashem. Elokeinu melech haolam, our God, King of the world. Malbish arumim, who clothes the naked. And this gives us an opportunity to be grateful for the whole process, to be grateful for the wool that grows on the sheep, the farmer who looks after the sheep and shears the sheep, the wool, the people involved with washing and cleaning and spinning it into thread. You've got to remember how many processes that thread has been through already, just before it even becomes a thread. And then it's woven into cloth, and then the cutting and the sewing into wearable clothes. And we thank Hashem for providing all the raw products, which essentially is the wool and the brains. That's what it is. And the same with linen, the growth of the flax, the farmer, the beating, the combing, the spinning, etc. And it's an opportunity to thank Hashem for the warm clothing that we have in the cold, the protective clothing in the rain, the thin, breathable clothing in the heat, maybe the sun protection of a hat, the rain protection of an umbrella. But there's also a deeper level too. The one time we see in the Torah that Hashem clothes the naked was just after the sin in the Garden of Eden. When Adam and Eve ate from the fruit, and then they realized that they were naked. There's this whole other discussion as to why they hadn't realized before. If it was wrong, how comes they didn't know what's going on? They realized that they were naked, and they searched for something to cover themselves up with, and they made rudimentary clothes with fig leaves. After God has told them the consequences of their actions, the verse then says, God made for them clothes of skin, or perhaps, depending on the translation, clothes that feel comfortable against the skin, meaning clothes made of cotton, and he clothed them. Now, if we stop for a moment, we need to realize that that is a tremendous kindness. Imagine that you told your child not to do something, and you warned him that if he does something, bad things will happen. And despite that, he doesn't listen. And then, because he didn't listen, he finds himself in a mess. Now, at that point, it would be completely natural for us to say, and I've said it myself, you made the mess, you clean it up, or something like that. It's your problem. But Hashem doesn't say that to them. Instead, he gives them clothes. He helps them in dealing with the issues that they themselves have caused. So when we say the blessing of Malbish Harumim every morning, we're supposed to thank Hashem that even when we make mistakes, even when we do something wrong and behave in a way that he has warned us not to do, he will always be there with us afterwards to help us pick up the pieces. Do you understand how unbelievably loving that is? Whatever happens, however much we rebel against him, he will always be there to clothe us and to help us and keep us going and just waiting for us to repair, and he'll help us repair if we want. So there's the challenge for this week. It's to spend a little bit of time each day, perhaps when saying this blessing that we've mentioned, being grateful for the clothing that we have and what it really means to be clothed by Hashem. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see about next week. We'll see how it goes.